Welcome back once again to The Photography Guy. I am Jack. I'm your host here at The Photography Guy, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Godox 685 flash unit that we've been talking about, and the newer Neewer softbox, the 24-inch by 24-inch softbox that we um, showed the unboxing of. But I took some test shots today, and I thought it would be really nice now to sit here and we're going to go over a couple of these test shots. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about these and show you the little setup that I did. I actually took some photos of the setup so that way we can look at where the light was placed and how I used it. So let's go ahead and we're going to go right to Lightroom. So here is the first shot. This is shot at let me see if I can't change my metadata here. No, we'll go to View, Info 2. All right. So this is shot at 1/4000th of a second using flash. And I was using TTL flash at this point with the softbox. And you can see the window behind it there leaving light in. So I was kind of getting a backlight from the window, so that's more of a natural ambient lighting, but I was trying to get the shutter speed high enough to kind of block that light out, but it didn't quite work for me. So I had to, here's the next shot. So what I did was I have black curtains. So I hung a black curtain in that window. That way I can block out all the light. It's a room darkening curtain. You can pick these up anywhere, and we normally get these at the dollar store. It just works out really, really well if you're using a spare room in your house as a studio. It's a nice way to block out some of the light. You don't have to worry about that ambient light coming through and have to fight with that. I'm still shooting at 1/4000th of a second on the shutter speed, f1.8. And we know when we're shooting wide open apertures, it's leaving more light into the sensor. But that's okay. I wasn't really concerned about that. I was concerned more about the sharpness of my gnome buddy here that I take a lot of pictures of. And I wanted to take the sharp picture. So I left it at 1.8. I know we can actually knock down more of the light, but especially the flash units, by increasing your aperture, which is actually decreasing the total opening of the aperture of your lens. This picture here is really not in focus, as you can see, but that's okay. I was mainly showing you the light setup. If you can see on the right, here I'll point over here, on the right hand side, we have that newer 24-inch softbox. And what I did on the left side here, this is a foam core board. So I was able to put this on one of my other light stands and just use it as a reflector to shoot light back into the gnome itself. That was the overall idea of the shot. This is 1/4000th of a second, and what I started doing here was I started, instead of getting on TTL mode, I started shooting with controlling the power from the flash unit, just to kind of get used to the flash trigger. And this is on 1/256 power, so it's a very low power shot, and as you can see the results. This is, I started bringing the power up. I'm probably about 1/64th power now. I got a little bit more light onto the gnome. We can see the little bit of reflection you're getting off the left side here. That's from the foam core board. So the flash is shooting from right to left, hitting the foam core board all at one time and lighting your subject. That foam core board, I picked that up, I think, at maybe like Michael's or Walmart or somewhere. It's about $1, maybe $2 a sheet. Just something nice to have in your arsenal in case you want to bounce light around a little bit. Pretty much the same shot there. Here's a shot here. What I did was I went over and I have the foam core on a bracket. So I took my bracket, and this is a bracket I purchased probably from eBay or B&H Photo Video. The bracket itself, basically what it allows you to do is allows you to take the angle just as I did here. You can angle. So it's on a light stand, and you can move that bracket around. It's actually for a reflector. And we've used this a lot with my round reflectors. You may have seen in some of my past videos. So it's a very nice way to get that foam core board to wherever angle you want it to be. Or also any height, because that way you don't have to hold it and it's on a light stand. Pretty much the same photograph. Here's a photo I wanted to show you where I have the softbox now sitting on the edge of the table and have it more shooting up into the foam core board. So you're going from left, you're going from, sorry, right up to the left side of the picture, back down onto the gnome here. And we're trying to get a little bit of light on his left side here. So we're going to his right, his left to his right. Very hard to determine left to right, so we're just going to talk photo wise. And here I just changed the angle of the camera, just trying to see where the light's hitting at. Here's another shot where I turned the power down. We are at like 1/2 power here. And again, that is a lower power setting. That's probably 1/128th power. This, what I did was I took the flash unit and I moved it back, and then I went on low power to see how much light I could bounce around. As you can see, it didn't work out. There was no light bouncing. Now, could I have pulled the light meter out of the bag and lit this and, had a reading from my light meter and set the camera perfect and get a perfect exposure? Sure, I could have. But what I do then is I lose the ability to learn. You want to learn your units. Being this is a new flash trigger for me, the Godox flash trigger with the multiple power settings, I never had that before. I've never had high-speed sync, so I always had to worry about keeping that shutter under 1/250th of a second. And this has given me the ability to learn the trigger a little better. And I've picked up a lot of tips already just on this few-minute shoot that I did here this morning. Here it is again. You can see that flash unit is no longer here. It's back over on... I probably had it maybe, let's say, 2 feet away from the tabletop. And I left the foam core board angled. Trying to get that angle shot on it there. So there's another shot. Again, this is raising the power on this shot. And this shot actually was under TTL mode. So I went back to TTL just to see will it work. And what I found was, surprisingly enough, I don't know why it did that. Surprisingly enough here, I think it was we were on this one. Surprisingly enough, the TTL mode worked very, very well, just as it should. And a lot of people write in all the time and say, look, Jack, should I use TTL? Is that cheating? Or use whatever tools are available to you. And if your camera will shoot through the lens metering for your flash, and that flash sends out that pulse, the camera picks it up and says, oh, this, this is the exposure. And the flash unit basically is getting the amount of light that it needs from what the camera is seeing. So no, it's not cheating at all. It's using what you have available to you. Again, just a different angle, again using TTL mode. This here, I brought the flash back, and what I did with the flash this time was I brought it higher up and down. One thing I found with this, with the Neewer Softbox and that type of bracket, this is one downside of this bracket. One thing I don't like about it already is to change the angle of the bracket, you have to take the softbox off the bracket, change your angle, and put the softbox back on the bracket. I think they should have made the handle further out so it cleared the bracket. But then again, remember, you can use all of the, I think it's Bolin type mounts and just click on the front. And I think that's what I'm going to have to look at later on down the road, is some Bolin type softboxes. So that way it's away from that handle altogether. The plastic... With this particular softbox, it seemed like the box itself was a little heavy for the plastic. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that or not. But it seemed at times where it was wanting to like drift down. So you have to put it one step higher to let it drift down to where you want it. So you have to really learn the equipment. Here's another one. And I believe this was on TTL. And you can see there where the shot is perfect. You may be asking, well, this is a nice shot. But if you're shooting a portrait or a headshot, you don't want your lights in the shot, right? We definitely don't want to do that. I'm going to show you in a minute here how you can take care of that. Here's the setup. I just wanted to show you another picture of the setup. Again, it's not in focus. Don't beat me up about that, but it's not in focus because we're just shooting the lights to show you where the lighting is. And you can see the light is now angled down, so the light's coming down in on a 45-degree angle, right? That's what they tell you to do. Shoot your subjects at a 45-degree angle. And the foam core board is also at a 45-degree angle. So I'm sure I'm hitting light over to here, bouncing down on him, as well as hitting this white table, bouncing up. So we got a really nice big light pattern going on there. And there's one shot, again, at very low power. Let's see where we're at here now. Okay, there's another one, low power. There's another one I shot at, that's probably about half power with that setup. It seemed to work pretty well. Again, why was I playing with all the power settings? Because I want to learn the trigger units. I think that's very important, is to learn your equipment. You don't want to get out on a shoot and start fumbling around and not know what setting to do, or not know what's camera settings. When you go on a photo shoot, and I know when I go on senior portraits, and I take a meter reading for the ambient light. The first thing I want to do is get my camera set for that ambient light and know I'm ready to roll. Then I meet the person, I meet the parents, because when you have parents and you're fumbling around, you don't look like a very good photographer, so be very careful of that. There it is again, shooting down again on TTL, and TTL was working out well for this type shot here. Again, we're back to the original. So what was I talking about earlier? We were talking about if we had, we'll go with this one. Yeah, that's fine. So I was talking about earlier, so you do a headshot and you see your lights in your shot, okay? Don't let that freak you out. You don't always have to have the lights away from your subject. When you're doing especially headshots, I've watched a lot of the YouTube videos, your lights are very close to the subject. Now you can zoom in and get very tight. Remembering this is a 35mm prime lens, or you're using a 50mm prime lens, maybe on your Sony or Nikon or Canon. A prime lens means we don't have the ability to zoom in. All right, now if this was a 70 by 200 lens or a 24 by 70 with an f2.8, then I have a constant aperture. I can zoom in and I can get rid of those lights. But I didn't have that. I'm shooting across this table. It is a 6-foot table, so I can see my lights. But that's okay, because even in Lightroom, we can go right into the developer module. You can just go into crop here, and you can just crop out what you want. So if you just wanted the subject by itself, and seeing we're shooting at 24 megapixels, we have plenty of pixels to work with. And let's just see if we can't just crop that up. And there we go. So now we do not have the trigger, or do not have the lights in the shot. The shot is beautifully lit. It's perfectly straight. We got really nice bokeh in the background, where the background's just like falling off behind the subject. And it worked out very, very well for us. So just a few clicks of the mouse with the editor, even if you're using Photoshop Elements, you can just crop your shot out and clean it up. It's a very nice way of doing things. Even with this shot, if this was in focus and you can see all the lights around here, you're like, wow, that's really horrible. You can see all those lights. Again, we could just come over here and we can just crop this out. We may want to pull this down a little bit, maybe something like that. And boom, you can just crop it out, and then you have your subject without having anything else in that photograph. There's one more. Again, I just crop it out. I just look at my crop. And I know I'm going to have people on here saying, you can't crop photos because then you're going to lose pixels. And it's shooting at 24 pixels. It's okay. Especially if you're shooting products. I did a video a while back on eBay product shooting. And if you're doing product shooting, this is not a big deal to be able to crop it out. I could put this on eBay and I'm sure I could sell my buddy Gnome. I don't want to sell my buddy Gnome. I'm sure he'll get very, very mad, as well as my wife, because she purchased this Gnome for me quite a few years ago. I'm kind of a Gnome guy, and taking pictures of him is just works out for me to play around with the flashes. So, okay, so that's it. Like I said, on that Neewer flash on the softbox, remember that the handle will not turn unless you take that box off. If somebody out there found a way to modify that, please let me know. I would love to hear from you for sure. I'm thinking of putting a longer bolt in and seeing if I can get a longer, longer handle bolt or something that would tighten down and be away from the softbox. That would be a bonus. But you may want to change that box angle, right, when you're out. You don't want to have to take the box off, put it on. It only takes a second. I know the first one I did, when I was showing you how to put it together, it was very tight. But now it's starting to loosen up already after putting it on there 4 or 5 times this morning. It's starting to work itself out where it's getting really easy to put it on and take it off that bracket. So, all right, well, thank you very much for watching this episode of The Photography Guy, and hopefully this helped you out. The big thing is get those cameras out there. I tell you, keep your shutters clicking, keep the editors editing. In other words, play around with this stuff, and play with your gear, learn your gear, learn how it works, and learn what doesn't work. And when you go on a photo shoot, you're going to look more professional. Thanks for watching. I hope you come back and tune in next time for another Photography Guy. Take care, and I'll see you then. Bye for now.